Imagine a house that is always perfectly clean. The windows are spotless, the lawn is manicured, inside everything is quiet. Too quiet. Even when a storm batters the roof, the house stands silent. It doesn't creak, it doesn't groan, it simply exists. Now, imagine a human being just like that house. You know this person. Perhaps you are this person, the one who never raises their voice, the one who smiles through insults, the one who says, "It's fine" when it is clearly not fine. They are the saint of the friend group, the mediator of the family, the employee who never complains. Society applauds them. We call them stoic, calm, or highly disciplined. We look at them and think, I wish I had that level of control. But psychology tells a different story, a darker story. If you were to look inside the walls of that silent house, you wouldn't find peace. You would find rot in the foundation. You would find pipes bursting under pressure. The truth is, a human being who never gets angry is not a transcended master. They are a ticking time bomb. In psychology, we don't call this peace, we call it repression and suppression. And today, we are going to open the lid of that pressure cooker to see exactly what happens to the human mind and body when you forbid yourself from feeling the one emotion designed to protect you. This is the psychology of people who never get angry, and why their silence is often a scream for help. Let's begin. To understand why never getting angry is dangerous, we have to start with an uncomfortable truth. Anger is not a design flaw. Evolution didn't give us emotions to make life harder. It gave them to keep us alive. Fear pulls you back from the edge of a cliff. Disgust keeps you from eating what would poison you. And anger exists to protect your boundaries. Deep in the brain, the amygdala acts like an alarm system. When something feels threatening, unfair, or violating, it sends a signal through your body. Adrenaline rises, muscles tense, your focus sharpens. This is the fight response, not violence but readiness. Anger is the body saying, something is wrong here. This crossed a line. Pay attention. In its healthy form, anger is temporary. It comes up, delivers its message, and fades. Like a wave, it rises, crashes, and recedes. Its job is not to stay forever. Its job is to mobilize you long enough to respond. The problem is that many of us were taught to fear this signal. We were told anger leads to loss of control, that it turns people ugly, that good people stay calm. So instead of learning how to listen to anger, we learned how to silence it. But biology doesn't stop working just because you don't like the message. When anger is blocked, the alarm keeps ringing in the background. The body stays tense. The nervous system stays alert. Energy meant to protect you has nowhere to go. Anger doesn't disappear when you suppress it. It waits. Long before we understand biology or psychology, most of us learn one quiet rule about anger. Don't. Don't raise your voice. Don't make things uncomfortable. Don't be difficult. Somewhere early in life, anger stops being seen as information and starts being treated as danger. Not because it actually is, but because the people around us didn't know what to do with it. Many of us watched anger expressed poorly. We saw yelling, slamming doors, humiliation, or violence. And without anyone explaining the difference, our nervous system drew a simple conclusion: anger equals harm. So we made a deal with ourselves. I won't be like that. I'll stay calm. I'll be the reasonable one. This is the first lie we learn about anger, that it's the same thing as abuse. But abuse isn't an emotion, it's a behaviour. Anger on its own is just energy and information. It doesn't tell you how to act, it tells you that something matters. When a child learns that anger leads to rejection, punishment, or chaos, they don't stop feeling it. They stop trusting it. They learn that safety comes from being pleasant, agreeable, easy to be around. And slowly, calmness becomes a performance. You don't stay regulated, you stay contained. You don't express anger, you manage it away. From the outside, this looks like emotional maturity. Inside, it's a constant act of self-monitoring. Because when anger is framed as something dangerous, the goal isn't understanding it. The goal becomes eliminating it. And that's where the real damage begins. At this point, a lot of people say the same thing. Okay, but I don't feel angry. And that's exactly where the difference begins. There are two very different ways people learn to handle anger: suppression and repression. They sound similar, but psychologically, they're worlds apart. Suppression is conscious. You feel the surge, the tight jaw, the heat in your chest, the urge to speak, and you choose not to. Maybe it's not safe. Maybe it's not the right moment. You know you're angry, but you push it down. It's uncomfortable, but it's temporary. Like holding your breath. Repression is different. Repression happens before awareness. For people who learned early that anger was dangerous, the brain becomes incredibly efficient at intercepting it. The signal never fully reaches consciousness. Instead of "I'm angry," the experience gets translated into something more acceptable. Tired, numb, overwhelmed, disappointed. If you ask them whether they're mad, they genuinely say no. And they mean it, but the body knows. Emotion is energy, and energy doesn't disappear just because you refuse to feel it. It goes somewhere. Muscles stay tense, the stomach tightens, sleep becomes shallow, the nervous system hums in the background, always slightly on edge. Think of it like a pressure cooker. Healthy anger releases steam through a valve. Expression, boundaries, honest words, those are the release. Repression is welding the valve shut. The heat is still on. The contents are still boiling. From the outside, the metal looks cool and controlled, but pressure doesn't resolve itself. It either explodes outward or collapses inward. And the most dangerous part of repression isn't the anger itself. It's losing access to the signal that was meant to tell you when something isn't okay. No one is born repressing anger. Watch a baby for 5 minutes and you'll see it clearly. When something feels wrong, hunger, discomfort, fear, the response is immediate and honest. There is no shame in it, no calculation, just expression. So something has to happen along the way. For many adults who never get angry, the story begins in childhood, where anger slowly became associated with danger, loss, or responsibility that was never theirs to carry. There are two common environments where this conditioning takes place. The first is the authoritarian household. In these homes, anger belonged to the adults. If a child showed frustration or protested unfairness, they were punished, shamed, or threatened. The lesson was simple and brutal. Expressing anger gets you hurt. Safety came from obedience, silence became survival. The second environment is quieter but just as powerful, the emotionally fragile household. Maybe a parent was anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, or unstable. When the child got upset, the room fell apart. You're upsetting your mother. Why are you making things harder? The child learned that their anger didn't just cause conflict, it caused collapse. So they adapted. They became agreeable, helpful, easy. They learned to read the room before reading themselves. They learned that love was conditional on being pleasant. This is where the good child is born. Not good because they feel good, but good because they don't cause trouble. Over time, anger isn't just suppressed, it's redefined. It becomes something selfish, dangerous, unacceptable. The child doesn't think, "I'm angry." They think, "I shouldn't feel this." And eventually, they stop noticing it at all. They grow into adults who pride themselves on being calm, reasonable, low maintenance. But beneath that calm is a nervous system that learned too early that having needs was risky, and that protecting others mattered more than protecting themselves. That's not emotional maturity, that's adaptation. Anger doesn't disappear when it's repressed. It just loses its direct route. When someone can't say no, can't say, "That hurt," and can't say, "I'm angry with you," the emotion has to find another exit. And it usually comes out sideways, subtle, deniable, and deeply confusing. This is where passive aggression lives. It shows up as chronic lateness, as forgetting to do things you agreed to, as sarcasm framed as humour, Relax, I was just joking. There's delays, avoidance, half responses, and emotional withdrawal. On the surface, nothing looks wrong. There's no raised voice, no confrontation, no obvious conflict. And yet, something feels off. The air gets heavy. Conversations feel strained. Affection becomes conditional. Silence turns into a weapon. For the repressed person, this doesn't feel intentional. They often don't experience it as anger at all. It feels like fatigue, like distance, like needing space. But to the people around them, it feels punishing. This is what makes passive aggression so corrosive. If someone yells at you, at least you know where you stand. You can respond. You can defend yourself. But when anger hides behind politeness, it creates doubt. You start questioning your perception. Am I imagining this? Did I do something wrong? And ironically, the person who prides themselves on being nice often becomes the hardest person to be close to. Because anger that isn't owned doesn't disappear. It just spreads quietly, through tone, timing, and absence, slowly poisoning the connection it was meant to protect. When anger has no permission to exist in the mind, it doesn't simply vanish, it migrates. The body becomes the place where unspoken truth lives. Repressing anger requires constant effort. Muscles stay slightly contracted. Breathing becomes shallow. The nervous system never fully powers down. It's like holding a beach ball underwater, possible for a while, but exhausting over time. This is why chronic, unexplained physical symptoms often appear in people who describe themselves as calm. Tension headaches, migraines, jaw clenching, teeth grinding in sleep, digestive problems like IBS, where the gut reacts to stress the mind refuses to name, high blood pressure, inflammation, immune issues that seem to come out of nowhere. These symptoms aren't imaginary. They're physiological consequences of long-term emotional suppression. The brain and body are not separate systems. They're in constant conversation. When the nervous system stays in a low-level state of threat, stress hormones like cortisol remain elevated. Over time, this wears down the body's ability to regulate itself. The immune system weakens, recovery slows, pain becomes chronic. In this way, the body does what the mouth was trained not to do. It speaks. It says, something isn't safe. Something has been held too long. Pay attention. This isn't the body betraying you. It's the body protecting you in the only way it knows how. When emotions are forbidden, symptoms become messengers. And the longer they're ignored, the louder they get. There's a reason repressed anger so often ends in depression. Sigmund Freud once described depression as anger turned inward. And while the language is old, the insight still holds. When frustration, hurt, and injustice have nowhere to go, when they can't be directed toward the source, they don't dissolve. They reverse direction. Instead of "you hurt me," the message becomes "something is wrong with me." Instead of "this isn't fair," it turns into "I'm not good enough to deserve better." The energy that was meant to defend the self gets repurposed to attack it. This is why so many depressed people aren't just sad, they're harsh with themselves. The inner voice becomes critical, cold, unforgiving. Every mistake feels like proof. Every failure feels personal. What looks like low self-esteem is often unexpressed rage redirected inward. Over time, this creates learned helplessness. If you believe you can't change your environment, can't speak up, can't push back, can't leave, your system stops trying. Motivation fades, pleasure dulls, numbness sets in. Depression isn't always an absence of feeling. Often it's a heavy lid placed over emotions that once felt too dangerous to express. And it's important to say this clearly. Not all depression comes from anger. Biology, trauma, and circumstance all matter. But for many people who never get angry, depression isn't random. It's what happens when self-protection is turned into self-punishment, and no one ever taught you another way. If anger has caused this much damage when it's buried, the answer isn't to unleash it without control. The goal isn't aggression. The goal is assertion. Assertion is anger with direction. It's the ability to let yourself feel the signal without turning it into an attack on others or on yourself. It's saying, "This crossed a line," without screaming. "That didn't feel okay," without apologizing for existing. For many people, this is terrifying. Not because they don't know what to say, but because their nervous system still believes that expressing anger will lead to rejection, chaos, or loss. So the work isn't just cognitive, it's physiological. Making anger safe again starts small. It begins with noticing sensations before stories. The tight jaw, the heat in your chest, the urge to withdraw. Instead of pushing it away, you pause and name it. Something in me is activated. No judgment, no action yet, then come micro-boundaries, small low-risk acts of honesty. I need more time. I'm not comfortable with that. I actually disagree. Not speeches, signals. Each time you assert without catastrophe following, your nervous system updates. Anger stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like information again. Healthy anger doesn't destroy relationships. It clarifies them. It filters out what doesn't respect you and strengthens what does. Over time, it becomes something steady, not explosive, not silent, but quietly firm. Anger was never meant to control you. It was meant to stand beside you. Anger doesn't need to be feared, and it doesn't need to be obeyed blindly either. Think of it as steam. When it has a place to go, it warms the system. It powers movement. It creates clarity. But when it's trapped, sealed under pressure, it doesn't make you stronger. It makes you brittle. For years, many people believed that staying silent was the same as being mature, that keeping the peace meant sacrificing themselves quietly. But peace that requires self-erasure isn't peace, it's endurance. Real regulation isn't about never feeling anger. It's about letting it move, without letting it burn everything down. When you give anger room to exist, something unexpected happens. Self-respect starts to form. Not the loud, performative kind, but the steady kind that says, "I matter here." Boundaries stop feeling cruel. Honesty stops feeling dangerous. You don't become harsher, you become clearer. If any part of this video felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not broken, you adapted. You learned how to survive in the safest way available at the time. And now, you're learning something new. This channel exists to explore the quiet patterns beneath human behavior, the ones we were never taught how to name. If this conversation helped you feel seen, consider subscribing so you don't have to navigate these insights alone. And if you're comfortable, leave a comment below. Do you recognize this pattern in yourself or in someone close to you? You're not the only one learning how to let the steam out.